Poe's real enemy was his own past. This theory argues that Shen never truly defeats Poe physically. He triggers the trauma that Poe spent his entire life trying to suppress. The second Poe sees the peacock symbol, his fighting completely changes. His movements get sloppy, his focus disappears. The Dragon Warrior suddenly starts reacting like someone terrified of his own memories. Supporters point out that Poe spends most of the movie drowning himself in distractions. Food, jokes, excitement, constant noise around him. Then Shen forces the Panda Village memories back to the surface. The theory further says Poe's real Crashout starts when he discovers he was adopted.
Adopted? I knew it.
You knew?
And who am I?
And begins questioning his entire identity. Why did he survive? Why did his parents let him go? Why does Shen recognize him? One question, then another. Every conversation with Shen seems to make it worse.
Your parents didn't love you.
Same wound, again and again. That's why Inner Peace changes the final battle so dramatically. Then, something changes. Same memories, same Shen, same battlefield. But the panic is gone. And somehow, so is Shen's advantage. Vanellope was psychologically erased from her own kingdom. This theory argues King Candy didn't just steal power in Sugar Rush. He manipulated an entire game into treating the real ruler like a mistake. Every racer mocks Vanellope constantly. They destroy her cart, force her into hiding, and they keep repeating the same word over and over again. Glitch, glitch, glitch. After years of hearing it, supporters think Vanellope starts seeing herself the same way. Defensive, aggressive, completely expecting rejection before anyone even speaks to her. The disturbing part is that Turbo rewrites the memories of the entire kingdom just to erase one little girl from power. Fans also point out Vanellope's glitching behaves less like a defect and more like corrupted code, trying to force the truth back to the surface. Every flicker, every teleport, every unstable moment, the glitch never goes away. That's why the racing scenes feel way bigger than just competition. Crossing the finish line forces the game itself to acknowledge Vanellope again. Meanwhile, everybody else spends the entire movie unknowingly protecting the person who ruined their world in the first place. Miguel grows up in a family that treats music like a disaster waiting to happen. Every time he touches a guitar, somebody shuts him down instantly.
Miguel! Abuelita! What are you doing here?
Abuelita smashes his dream before he can even explain himself. The Rivera family repeats the same story for generations. Music destroyed the family, music caused abandonment, music ruins lives. After years of hearing it, Miguel starts associating his biggest passion with guilt and danger. That's why Ernesto de la Cruz becomes so important to him emotionally. Ernesto represents everything Miguel thinks freedom looks like. Fame, talent, escape, immortality. Then the whole thing falls apart. Stolen songs, stolen credit, stolen legacy. Suddenly Ernesto looks very different, and so does Hector. The person Miguel keeps overlooking turns out to be at the center of everything. Supporters point out that the Rivera family starts looking completely different after that reveal. Less controlling, more emotionally damaged. After a while, the entire family starts looking emotionally damaged. Same story, different generation. Meanwhile, Miguel spends most of the movie trapped between the person he wants to become and the fear his family spent decades building into him. Eep's entire Crashout starts when Guy introduces the idea of tomorrow. Grug spends years building the family around one rule: survive at all costs. Hide, stay quiet, avoid danger, repeat. Every time Eep shows curiosity, Grug treats it like a threat, sneaking outside, chasing light, exploring new places. Fans think that's why Eep's frustration keeps getting more aggressive throughout the movie. Then Guy shows up with fire, ideas, and stories about the future.
Believe me, everything we're standing on, all this right here, will be gone. We gotta get to high ground. I know a mountain. That way.
A different life. A different future. A different way to survive. And suddenly, the cave starts looking completely different. What if the cave was never actually protecting her? What if her entire family spent years confusing survival with living? Even the line, "That's not living, that's just not dying," completely reframes her behavior after that point. Supporters also point out that Eep stops reacting like someone looking for adventure and starts reacting like someone terrified of wasting her entire existence trapped inside the same cycle forever. Same cave, same rules, same routine. And honestly, after realizing that, can we even blame her for wanting to escape? Mother Gothel treats Rapunzel less like a survival tool. Let me explain. Almost every conversation between them follows the exact same pattern. Insult, fear, fake affection, repeat. Gothel constantly calls Rapunzel naive, clumsy, weak, and incapable of surviving outside the tower, then immediately softens the damage with jokes or fake warmth before Rapunzel can fully react. And when you really think about it, doesn't Mother Knows Best start sounding way less like a loving song and way more like psychological conditioning? The entire sequence floods Rapunzel with terrifying images of the outside world until fear completely overrides curiosity. Fans also point out how violently Gothel reacts when Rapunzel starts thinking independently. Flynn doesn't just threaten the tower, he threatens the entire illusion Gothel spent years building around her. And the disturbing part is that Gothel never truly seems attached to Rapunzel herself. Not Rapunzel, her hair, her youth. What if Rapunzel simply represented the one thing Gothel couldn't survive without? The magic keeping her young. Randall's invisibility might be the entire point of his character. Fans point out that he spends almost his entire life getting overshadowed by Sully. In Monsters University, Randall works harder, studies harder, trains harder, and still ends up invisible the second Sully walks into the room. Sully gets attention effortlessly, popularity effortlessly, validation effortlessly. Meanwhile, Randall keeps blending into the background, literally and emotionally. Some viewers think that's why the Scream Extractor changes everything. Randall stops believing talent matters at all. The machine forces screams out of kids instead of earning them naturally, which starts looking way more personal once you connect it back to Sully. Work harder, get ignored, watch Sully get the credit. Then Monsters Inc. turns the rivalry into a full obsession. Randall barely even reacts like someone competing for a job anymore. Every decision starts revolving around finally standing above Sully no matter what it costs. And really, Randall spends most of the movie trying to force people to notice him, any way possible. All Chick Hicks ever wanted was to stop feeling irrelevant. He spends years finishing behind the king while Lightning McQueen suddenly shows up with instant fame, talent, and attention. Then, Chick completely spirals. His racing gets dirtier, more aggressive, more desperate, hit first, cheat first, wreck somebody before they outshine you. And then add the moment from Chick's younger years where he gets mocked for helping another racer during a crash, and suddenly his entire mindset starts making a lot more sense. Help somebody, get laughed at, never do it again. After that, compassion practically disappears from the way he races. The track turns brutal, winning turns personal, then the Piston Cup ending changes everything. Chick finally gets the trophy he spent his whole life chasing, and the crowd instantly turns against him. Boos, silence, no respect. People think that's why the ending feels so ugly compared to every other race in the movie. Chick finally gets everything he wanted, and somehow, it still doesn't look like enough. The theory says Hans isn't charming because he's romantic. He's charming because he learned how to copy people perfectly. Around Anna, he suddenly acts impulsive and emotional. Around the citizens, he turns calm and heroic. Around Elsa, he starts sounding like a composed political leader trying to protect the kingdom. Hans changes personalities almost scene by scene, depending on who he's talking to. And the weird part is that he barely shows genuine emotion the entire movie. He studies people, mirrors them back, builds trust ridiculously fast. Nobody notices because the performance works every single time. Some viewers think growing up as the ignored 13th son completely destroys the way Hans sees relationships. So Hans slowly turns himself into whatever people want him to be. Different person, same Hans, every time. Even the gloves start feeling weird once you notice them. Hans spends almost the entire movie looking perfectly polished and emotionally controlled, then suddenly takes the gloves off right before betraying Anna. And once you notice it, the timing feels strangely deliberate. What if Hans had just spent his entire childhood learning how to emotionally perform so well that eventually he stopped knowing where the performance ended and the real person began?